The mind's potential is limitless, and it raises intriguing questions. Have you ever pondered ideas such as these? Can I achieve a perfect memory? Is it possible to reprogram my mind to create new memories at will? Can I gain more knowledge and wisdom in less time? Is there a way for brain-to-brain communication that allows for a mutual understanding and win-win situations? Could I potentially experience life in the 1800s by purchasing someone else's memories and installing them in my brain? While many of us have contemplated some of these questions, few have considered them all. Excitingly, there are individuals seriously investigating how to unlock the brain's powers using advanced technology, aiming to reprogram it for the betterment of humanity. Take Brian Johnson, for example. He's an American entrepreneur in his 40s who founded Kernel, a nanotechnology company. He believes that within the next 15 years, humans will significantly enhance their brain's natural abilities. Johnson anticipates that researchers will create tools that dramatically expand cognitive skills in the next couple of decades. His company is working on a small chip, referred to as a neuroprosthetic, which could assist those suffering from conditions like strokes and Alzheimer's disease. Looking ahead, they aim to extend such technology for cognitive enhancement, effectively reprogramming the human mind to perform at new heights. Isn't that fascinating? Johnson isn't alone in this mission. Elon Musk has shared his vision of merging human brains with computers. His team is developing technology that will enable seamless interaction between humans and machines by implanting electrodes in the brain to facilitate thought communication with computers. This innovative approach aims to boost cognitive functions, almost like adding an extra layer to our intelligence. Mark Zuckerberg is also seizing opportunities to maximize human brain potential. Reports suggest that Facebook is creating a speech-to-text interface that decodes neuron signals as they form words. This could allow users to type at speeds of 100 words per minute merely by thinking. All of this sounds incredibly appealing. Imagine having a brain that functions like a computer. If a chip could be implanted to quickly gain knowledge and experience, people would eagerly wait in lines, much like they do for the latest Apple products. However, there's a crucial point to consider. Despite remarkable advancements in neuroscience and understanding various brain functions, truly mastering features like imagination, creativity, and memory through technology is still a distant goal. It's still uncertain just how much researchers can unlock from this incredibly intricate organ in the universe. There's a pathway to brilliance and improvement. You might ask, what can you do to tap into the potential of your mind? Is it possible to hack your mind on your own without relying on technology? Let's delve into that. The human brain, the most complex organ in our body, comprises just 2 of our weight but consumes 20 of our energy. It has birthed all the technologies that make our lives easier, from mobile phones and satellite televisions to airplanes, spaceships, and advanced medical equipment. How did this happen? It's all thanks to the incredible capacity of our minds. Napoleon Hill famously said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." The very brain that has devised and executed complex technological innovations is also capable of providing solutions to our deepest human aspirations, including the desire to reprogram and expand its potential for the greater good. This is certainly a promising idea. We don't need to wait for technological breakthroughs. While scientists and researchers continue their work, we can focus on upgrading our minds to better understand their findings and discover the immense possibilities within us. The purpose of this book is to help you comprehend how your mind operates, as well as the strategies and techniques successful individuals employ to hack their own minds. As you read this book and grasp the principles and strategies laid out, you'll likely resonate with the statement, "You don't have to be a genius to uncover the hidden potential deep within your mind." Ray Davies. A Chapter 1 is Beyond the Mind, Discovering Your True Self. Let's start with the basics. Our head, face, arms, and legs are body parts we can easily see. However, the internal organs perform crucial functions that keep us alive, even though they remain hidden from view. Whether or not you find these insights enlightening, please bear with me as I delve into some key points. There are two visible layers to our body. The outer body parts are immediately noticeable, while the inner organs can be observed if necessary. Neuroscience has revealed that the human brain contains roughly 100 billion neurons, creating an astounding number of connections, hundreds of trillions. In fact, the number of zeros in that figure is mind-boggling. There are more connections in our brains than there are stars in the entire universe, highlighting the incredible complexity of each individual brain, as no two are the same. If we consider our visible body parts as the first layer in the internal organs, along with the brain as the second, then the third layer represents the human mind. This aspect is always present with us. A powerful driving force fuels all human actions, progress, and development. In a book about hacking the mind, it's essential to grasp the boundaries and interactions between our brain and our mind. Our brain and mind can be likened to a computer. Just as a computer requires hardware, like the box, keyboard, and mouse, to function, it also needs software to run. Without software, the hardware is useless, and without hardware, the software cannot exist. In this analogy, your brain serves as the hardware, while your mind represents the software. The brain's hardware enables you to coordinate movements, manage processes, and carry out day-to-day activities. Every living creature has a brain vital for survival. Animals experience hunger, thirst, and other physiological needs, and their brains drive the necessary behaviors in response. As humans, we utilize our minds to think. The mind comprises thoughts, feelings, memories, and imagination, all taking place within the brain. It's the awareness of our consciousness, allowing us to control our actions and understand both what we're doing and why. Humans can grasp complex ideas and situations, even without scientific reasoning, while lower animals interpret their surroundings on a much more basic level. Our analytical abilities enable us to tackle intricate problems, setting us apart from other living beings. We move from simple to complex levels of understanding. The three layers of human existence are the outer physical body, the internal organs, and the mind. But there's more to explore. Let's now discuss the fourth layer. Your mind isn't the final frontier of your existence. It's not only invisible, but also operates beyond your comprehension. Unlike your mind, what is this elusive aspect? To illustrate, consider how you describe an injury. You might say, "My hand hurts." If you have a stomach ache, you might express that it's throbbing. When your ability to think logically falters, you might say, "My mind isn't working well." In all three instances, a common thread emerges. You use possessive language to indicate ownership or control. You don't distinguish your mind from your other organs. You recognize these levels as parts of your being or something you control. The logical conclusion is that a level exists beyond these three, one that encompasses them all. When I mention you're reading a book about hacking your mind, it suggests that something or someone else might engage with your mind. Who occupies this fourth level? That would be your consciousness. Before you jump to conclusions, let me clarify. My focus isn't on spirituality, religion, or anything mystical. I aim to peel back the layers of your existence to examine the root. All three layers of your being are aspects of this fourth level. it's crucial to realize you are not your mind. There's a distinct entity that observes it. This is your consciousness, separate from your mind itself. You can observe and think about your mind objectively, which demonstrates the existence of both the mind and an observer of the mind. Picture your mind as a movie playing in your head. You and your thoughts are distinct, aided by this understanding. Recognizing this difference is vital for the journey of hacking your mind, even if it doesn't always come into play in our daily lives. Sir John Hargrave draws a similar comparison in his book, Mind Hacking: How to Change Your Life in 21 Days. When you immerse yourself in a movie, for a brief moment, you feel as if you're right there in the story. You might find yourself shedding tears during a particularly sad scene in a movie or feeling a rush of fear from some gory moment on screen. In truth, it's you who is watching that movie unfold. Your mind acts like a film playing in your head, with thoughts flashing by like images on a screen. Just as you might get completely lost in a beautifully crafted cinematic experience, your thoughts, feelings, and sensations flow along with the narrative of your mind. This inner movie offers much more than any cutting-edge 3D Dolby digital experience. It's been playing continuously since the moment you were born. Unfortunately, no one ever informed you that it's merely a film being projected in your own head. This movie is shaped by the unending stream of emotions, feelings, and thoughts from those around us, and that's why it captivates us so deeply. To truly experiment with your mind, it's crucial to separate yourself from it. I hope that the distinction between the 4 levels of your existence has helped you distance yourself from your thoughts, allowing you to observe them from an objective perspective. If you want to harness control over your mind, seeing it clearly is essential. Understanding the invisible power of the mind is key to mastering the operating system of our consciousness. Your mind holds tremendous potential. It has enabled humankind to venture into space and even land on the moon, and one day humans will call Mars home. It's a myth that only a select few possess such mental power. It is available to all of us. Not long ago, it was a common belief that the human mind was fixed from birth and that our intelligence had limits. Thanks to groundbreaking research in neuroscience and psychology, we now understand the concept of neuroplasticity. Science has established that our minds are not set in stone. They can evolve throughout our lives. Our brains have an incredible ability to reorganize in response to environmental changes, new behaviors, thoughts, and emotions. With advances in technology like functional MRE, science has confirmed the brain's remarkable ability to adapt, as highlighted in the book A Soft Wired, How the New Science of Brain Plasticity Can Change Your Life. No one is irrevocably tethered to the brain they were born with. Norman Doidge's work elaborates on the brain's elasticity and adaptability. As Dr. Michael Merzenich describes, the brain isn't just a piece of furniture. It resembles a living entity with a desire to grow. It can develop and change when given the right nutrition and stimulation. Previously, the brain was viewed as a complex machine bound by limits on memory, processing speed, and intelligence. However, each of these assumptions has been proven wrong. Let me share the inspiring story of a little girl named Cameron Mitch from North Carolina, which illustrates the mind's extraordinary potential. After her 3rd birthday, she began to experience severe seizures that affected her ability to speak. She was diagnosed with a rare and serious neurological condition called Rasmussen's encephalitis, leading to the recommendation of a hemispherectomy, removing half of her brain, as the only viable treatment. This surgery would have devastating consequences. The left hemisphere controls movement and sensation on the right side of the body, while the right manages the left. Post-surgery, she would be hemiplegic, unable to move one side. Remarkably, just 4 weeks after her operation, she walked out of the hospital After several months of rehabilitation, she regained good health and returned to school, participating in normal activities despite having half of her brain removed. How is it possible for a person to function normally with only 50 of their brain? The remaining hemisphere of her brain reconfigured itself, adapting to take over the functions of the missing tissue. This remarkable phenomenon highlights the brain's capacity for self-repair. Neuroscience tells us that the brain can change at any age, regardless of other factors, with cognitive function able to improve even in older adults. Repeated actions lead to physical changes in your brain. As Jim Rohn wisely stated, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Embracing the knowledge of your brain's ability to grow is crucial for unlocking its vast potential. This understanding will significantly aid you on your journey toward realizing the limitless possibilities of your mind. In the next section, we'll delve deeper into how our minds truly operate. Chapter 2 deals with decoding the mind and understanding its mechanics. The complexity of the human brain is already well recognized. With billions of neurons and trillions of connections forming among them, it would be a vast understatement to liken its intricacy to a complicated puzzle crafted by a supercomputer. A considerable amount of research in neuroscience sheds light on how this intricate system functions. Let's take a closer look at the human brain. Through advanced techniques like MRE, scientists have begun to explore the inner workings of our minds. Each neuron consists of a single long extension called the axon, along with multiple shorter branches known as dendrites. One key process that occurs in the brain is the transmission of signals between cells. Neurons communicate by touching one another directly. Research indicates that most learning and development occur in the brain when synaptic connections are strengthened. Estimates suggest there are between 40 and 10,000 different patterns of connections in the brain, a figure that exceeds typical human comprehension. These basic cells play a crucial role in learning, influencing all facets of human behavior. Neurotransmitters act like small batteries, sending chemical and electrical signals that help to integrate and generate information. The amount of neurotransmitters released onto receiving neurons determines whether they will fire. These chemicals can either activate the receiving neurons, inhibit their firing, or modify their excitability. Dopamine and epinephrine are 2 well-known neurotransmitters that significantly impact our moods and emotions. When we learn something new, the information is stored in our brains. Through continuous practice and repetition, we can strengthen the connections between neurons. Neuroscience has a saying, neurons that fire together wire together. All our learning and understanding stem from the connections that form among neurons. When a negative experience occurs in a specific place, it activates a neuron associated with that location and another linked to an emotion. This interaction causes the 2 neurons to wire together, making it likely that the emotion reemerges when the related location neurons are triggered. Small networks of neurons connect with other networks, creating a vast forest of neuronal connections with tens of thousands of synaptic links. Our beliefs about situations and events in our lives are essentially the result of these synaptic connections. This understanding empowers us to choose which types of neuron connections we wish to encourage or diminish, as repetition is key to developing specific synaptic pathways. The neuroscience perspective offers insights into how our minds operate at the neuronal level to produce various thoughts, beliefs, and perceptions. Complementing this, a psychological viewpoint reveals how we approach decision-making. It's commonly assumed that all our decisions are based on logic, but that's not entirely accurate. Many of our choices aren't purely logical. Other factors come into play in the decision-making process. So, how can we discern whether our decisions are rational or swayed by emotions? To understand this dynamic, we turn to Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, in which he outlines two distinct systems within our minds that drive our decisions. There's a drama unfolding between two characters in our heads. System 1, which is impulsive, automatic, and intuitive, and System 2, which is reflective, thoughtful, and analytical. System 1 operates without needing conscious thought. For instance, if you hear a sudden loud noise, your instinct is to jump and focus on the source. This reaction stems from our brain's evolution, essential for survival in our early existence. Conversely, System 2 handles more deliberate decision-making, engaging in rational thought processes. It is responsible for all conscious activities, such as paying attention, controlling instincts, and concentrating on important tasks. Classic example illustrating the interaction between these two systems is the bat and ball problem. If a bat and a ball together cost $1.10 and the bat is more expensive than the ball, how much does the ball cost? Most people's initial response is incorrect due to System 1's quick and automatic reaction. Upon reconsideration, the answer reveals that the ball costs only 5 cents. The interplay between System 1 and System 2 shows that System 1 only hands off a question to System 2 when it's unable to provide a satisfactory answer. System 1 fell into a trap with the bat and ball problem, mistakenly assuming that the issue was too straightforward to warrant a deeper analysis by System 2. This misjudgment occurred due to what is often referred to as the law of least effort, which highlights our tendency toward mental laziness. Our brains naturally opt for the least energy-consuming approach for any task. In this case, System 1 didn't defer the question to System 2, which more rigorously demands cognitive effort. This inclination toward mental laziness is quite unfortunate, as it doesn't lead to optimal thinking. Relying too heavily on System 1 can limit our cognitive potential. Research indicates that actively engaging in System 2 tasks, such as focusing and exercising self-control, can actually raise intelligence scores. Ignoring the tougher System 2 thinking holds us back intellectually. Being aware of the two systems influencing our decision-making can help us be more mindful. You'll start to recognize whether System 1 or System 2 was at play in a given circumstance. There's another aspect influencing our thought processes when it comes to decision-making: the differences between the experiencing self and the remembering self. We often believe our perception of ourselves is that we are a single, coherent entity. However, there's a flaw in how we shape and reinforce that self-perception. Instead of recalling experiences straightforwardly, we have two distinct memory selves: the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives in the moment and reflects on how we feel during an experience. Conversely, the remembering self evaluates the event afterward and considers it as a whole, asking, "How did it go overall?" The remembering self is consulted when we plan for the future, operating off the narrative it has constructed from past experiences. Yet, it is the experiencing self that provides a more accurate account of the events because our feelings during an experience are often more genuine. The remembering self tends to overshadow our memory, mainly because the two selves might not agree on what actually transpired. In an experiment, subjects had one hand submerged in ice water, which caused moderate pain, while they recorded their pain levels with the other hand. They were informed they would undergo 3 trials, each lasting 60 seconds. However, the water was slowly warmed during the last 30 seconds of the second trial. Participants were able to choose which of the first 2 trials was less unpleasant for the third, and the results were telling. 80% of those who reported a decrease in pain during the last 30 seconds of the second trial opted to repeat that longer experience. In this case, The remembering self favored the second option, even if it involved an extra 30 seconds of discomfort. These conclusions are supported by numerous similar experiments, indicating that the duration of an event isn't what truly matters. Rather, our future choices hinge on the peak moments and the ending of an experience as recorded in our memory. Understanding how our minds operate reveals that it involves more than simple calculations. Emotions heavily influence our decisions, often overshadowing logic and reason. Now, let's explore how emotions impact our brains. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure, processes negative emotions as indicators of threat. Such emotions can hinder the brain's ability to solve problems or perform cognitive tasks effectively. On the other hand, positive emotions and thoughts enhance the brain's executive functions, fostering creativity and strategic thinking. It's clear that it's in our best interest to cultivate positive emotions. To achieve a balanced emotional state throughout our day, it's essential to prioritize positive interactions. According to Barbara Fredrickson, a psychology researcher and author of E-Positivity, about 80 of Americans struggle to maintain the recommended positivity ratio of 3:1, which is linked to thriving mentally and emotionally. You can even calculate your own positivity ratio using a tool available on our website. At this point, you've gained insight into the workings of your mind. Now it's time to dive into what mind hacking truly entails. Chapter 3 serves as a beginner's guide to mind hacking. The term hack can carry multiple meanings. It can refer to writing computer programs for enjoyment or illegally gaining access to someone else's computer. In this context, however, we're not looking to steal anyone's information. The focus is on taking control of the data in our own minds. The word hack has also come to represent a clever solution or workaround in everyday language, as seen in phrases like life hack. This understanding aligns perfectly with the purpose of this book. A hacker, in this sense, is someone who delights in uncovering the intricacies of systems and enhancing their understanding. Most people tend to learn only what they believe is absolutely necessary. This book will embrace that idea by exploring the complexities of our minds. Imagine if we could reprogram how our minds function to achieve something new. By stretching our own capabilities, we can transform our lives for the better. You're reading this book because you want to unlock the secrets behind the intricate programming of your mind. You aspire to tap into the full potential of your brain to achieve success in life. If you're currently operating at only the bare minimum of your mind's capacity, you might struggle to grasp what it truly means to utilize the mind's fundamental abilities effectively. You're here to discover the deeper insights of your mind, which means you must first claim and exercise special rights to delve inside your thoughts. You can take on the admin rights to your mind. In a work environment, numerous people use computers linked to a common server. You may have encountered a message stating that you don't have permission to alter settings on your computer, especially when trying to install new software. Before you can install third-party applications, you must secure permission from the network supervisor. Without the right access to change software settings, you're limited in how you can use the computer. As determined by your organization or community, the network controller holds the admin rights, allowing them to modify, install, or remove programs at the network level. To effectively hack your mind, you need to empower yourself with these admin rights. This empowerment means you can reprogram your mental software, remove ingrained bugs, and do everything necessary to optimize the functioning of your mind. If you keep working the way you always have, guided purely by what your family, school, or society has taught you, you only maintain the user rights to your brain. This restricted access limits your capabilities because you're merely relying on the pre-existing system and software. However, when you decide to take control of your mind, you can change your life. Dare to think beyond what's currently in your head and recognize the malleability and plasticity of your brain. To succeed, you must commit fully without seeking permission from anyone else. Now that you've assumed your available admin rights, let's embark on the journey of hacking your mind, removing outdated programming, installing fresh perspectives, and crafting new mental applications through imagination to harness your best self. Before you can welcome new ideas, though, you must clear out the old to make way for the new. The initial step involves shedding outdated thoughts and beliefs, which will be addressed in the next section of this book. Chapter 4: Optimizing Your Mind. Your emotions, along with various other factors, play a critical role in shaping your thoughts and decision-making processes. In this discussion, we'll explore specific thinking patterns that can ensnare you, hindering your ability to think more effectively. These patterns resemble loops in software programming, repeatedly cycling until a certain condition is met. These thought loops are influenced by the beliefs cultivated in you by your environment. From the moment you were born, your mind was essentially a blank slate. As you matured, you absorbed knowledge and habits from those around you. Parents taught you fundamental skills like standing, walking, and running. Teachers led you through the journey of reading, and you created playful memories with friends. However, problems arise when you start to embrace perspectives primarily shaped by your family and peers. Society continuously reinforces its values and belief systems into your mind through repetition and habit. One of the most significant belief systems influencing your mindset is your self-image and how you perceive the world around you. If you were raised in a stable and supportive environment, you likely view the world as friendly and welcoming. Conversely, if you grew up in a chaotic or unstable setting, you might perceive the world as unsafe, unsettling, and untrustworthy. Depending on your current circumstances, these beliefs can be either a blessing or a burden. Your present life is a reflection of the actions you have taken so far, and those actions stem from the mental loops you have developed over the years. Your beliefs shape your actions, which, in turn, shape your life. When faulty thinking patterns or belief systems become part of your daily life, they often remain unnoticed. To understand how your everyday behaviors and decisions operate on autopilot due to these ingrained bugs, you need to take a closer look, like using magnifying lenses. By applying these lenses, you can identify the underlying issues and analyze how your actions have been consistently influenced by them. Before you can install new software in your mind, you must first address the existing issues in your system. Intel models serve as tools that help you recognize your habitual, preset behaviors, allowing you to think differently and make more informed decisions. Investors like Warren Buffett and his partner, Charlie Munger, frequently use mental models to direct their thinking and prevent themselves from being swayed by ingrained thought patterns. These models will help you understand how you navigate life with numerous preconceived notions. Once you recognize these patterns, you will gain deeper insight into how life truly operates. Mental models enhance your cognitive abilities, empowering you to make better decisions. Among the restrictive and non-resourceful thinking patterns that can act as mental bugs, confirmation bias stands out. Confirmation bias is our tendency to interpret new evidence as validation of our existing belief. Instead of embracing fresh perspectives or information, we tend to cherry-pick data that supports our current beliefs. As the saying goes, what humans excel at is twisting all new information to ensure our prior conclusions remain unchanged. Beliefs often take precedence, with explanations trailing behind. Isn't that a rather rigid worldview? Such an approach makes it challenging to view situations from different angles, as you are always on the lookout for information that confirms your beliefs. Overcoming confirmation bias is nearly impossible without recognizing the concept itself. Even when confronted with evidence challenging your viewpoint, you can find ways to interpret it in a manner that maintains your existing perspective. Consider this example. In India, many non-vegetarians regard eating cow's meat as taboo because they believe that a cow's life holds equal importance to a human's. Conversely, in Western countries, people may argue that slaughtering a cow for meat is more efficient than killing multiple chickens to meet the same demand. This doesn't denote a stance for or against either view, but rather, it highlights how your beliefs will inevitably lead you to justify them. Confirmation bias causes you to overlook alternative perspectives even when there is valuable information present, opting instead for facts that bolster your preconceived beliefs. So how can you combat confirmation bias? One effective approach is to cultivate a mindset that embraces diverse thought. By challenging yourself to see different perspectives, you're more likely to broaden your understanding. If you fail to grasp the circumstances that shape another person's beliefs, you may remain uncritical of your own. Recognizing this is essential for personal growth. Picking a documentary or book by different experts on this topic is the next step. Listen, watch, or read what these people have to say. In this process, you will discover that you often find arguments that support your belief. You have to practice overcoming your desire to just support your beliefs and start to dig deeper to understand the right and just perspective that can survive the test of objectivity. Availability heuristics. It is possible for a person to discover or learn something. They are the mental tricks that make it easier to make a decision. There are a few examples of using a rule of thumb: educated guess, intuitive judgment, guesstimate, stereotyping, profiling, common sense, etc. We make our decisions based on the recency of the events. Due to the limitation of our memory, we often underestimate the magnitude of the events that have happened recently. When they come in a vivid narrative, we remember them better. According to Max Bezerman, the managers who conduct performance appraisals often fall prey to the availability heuristic. The recency of events is important in performance appraisals. Managers give more weight to performance in the 3 months prior to the evaluation than in the previous 9 months because of the recent instances. Vivid instances of an employee's behavior will be most easily recalled from memory and will appear more numerous than commonplace incidents. They will be weighted more heavily in the performance appraisals. The availability heuristics are influenced by the ease of recall or believability of information. If something is easy to recall in your memory, you think it must happen with a high probability? The studies showed that people are more likely to purchase insurance to protect themselves after a natural disaster than they are to purchase insurance before it happens. Their decisions are influenced by the recency of events. This is another example of availability heuristics. It's a fact that strokes cause many more deaths than accidents by road or otherwise, but one study confirmed that 80 of the respondents in the study stated that accidental death is more likely the cause of death. This is because accidental deaths are reported more often in media and present a vivid image and strong impression on our minds as compared to death from strokes. Our mind takes immediate judgment based on the recent, more vivid imagery in its records, as we remember ghastly accidental deaths more clearly. This approach distorts our understanding of the real risks. We often don't do the proper assessment of all the alternatives in front of us and are misguided by ease of recall due to recency of events or believability of information in our mind. How can you change your mind? We have to make quicker decisions at times, but we also don't want such promptness that doesn't take into account the real risks involved. Take a break before jumping to the conclusion. Don't let emotions or any quick rule of thumb method influence your decision-making in important matters. Rather, you need to gather proper data, which may take some time. The availability heuristic gives you limited information based on your mental ability to easily recall the information. You need to go beyond the limited information if you want to look at other relevant data. If you don't have the information you need, you won't make the decision. You don't need to be sitting over the problem indefinitely on the pretext of researching and collecting more information. Chapter 5 is groundwork for fertile mind. We've explored the concept of the mind and how it functions. We've also delved into the idea of hacking your mind and identified some common pitfalls that affect our decisions, along with strategies to address them. Now, let's shift our focus. In this chapter, I will introduce you to a few key steps that can accelerate your journey toward mind hacking. Let's dive into these strategies. Priming is a psychological technique where exposure to a specific stimulus influences a response to a subsequent one without needing conscious awareness or attention. In essence, priming prepares your mind for particular situations by exposing it to certain cues, thus shaping your responses. For instance, if tasked with filling in the gaps of a word, various letters might come to mind. If you see the words eat or drink, you might immediately think of soup. Conversely, if you encounter words like shower or bath during your morning routine, the word soap might pop into your head. This illustrates how being exposed to certain words or scenarios can prompt related thoughts or concepts. This technique is straightforward. Essentially, it's about encouraging yourself to think in a certain way by using specific language to shift your mindset. It's not brainwashing. It won't make you do anything against your will. However, it can place you in a mental state that is more advantageous for the situation at hand. Fascinating study at Yale University highlights this phenomenon. In the study, a team member casually asked participants to hold a coffee cup in the elevator on the way to the lab, during which time they would write down some details about the participants. The participants held the cup for about 10 to 25 seconds, with half of them holding hot coffee and the other half holding cold coffee. After this brief interaction, participants who held the hot coffee perceived the team member as more generous, happy, and social, while those with cold coffee described the member as relatively unhappy. Notably, there was no difference in the physical appearance of the team member during this short time, yet the simple act of holding a coffee cup had effectively primed participants' perceptions. Now here's something interesting. While reading this, you're already engaging in the process of mind hacking. How so? Remember our earlier analogy likening your mind to a computer? Just as you can tap into hidden codes in software and modify them for your benefit, you can do the same with your mind. To truly be a hacker, you need full administrative rights, not just basic access. This means having control to make the changes necessary for reprogramming your thought patterns. You've been led to believe that your mind is separate from you, but it can be reprogrammed just like computer software. This concept empowers you to take the desired actions. With the analogies and examples we've discussed, it's clear that your mind is indeed a tool that can be adjusted. How can you leverage priming moving forward? The approach is quite simple. If you aspire to learn or achieve specific goals, you need to continually present your mind with related thoughts or situations. Imagine picturing your dream house, a sleek car, or a dream vacation. Keeping these visions alive can spark your motivation to perform better and earn more. Techniques like vision boards and self-affirmations serve to guide your behavior toward your goals. It's all about presenting stimuli that align your mind with your objectives. There are countless ways to prime your mind for success. For example, you could dive into personal development books, engage with inspiring figures online, or read the biographies of legends. Surrounding yourself with uplifting quotes and exploring new methods to enhance your work can also be incredibly beneficial. By immersing yourself in these activities, you'll cultivate a mindset focused on continuous self-improvement. This is not a once-a-week activity. Rather, you have to do it regularly. People often say that motivation doesn't last. That's why we recommend it daily. The principle is called the 5 Whys principle. Children follow this principle very well. Young children have a tendency to keep asking why certain things happen the way they do. They're curious to know the reason for certain things. The desire to ask a question enhances their knowledge of the world in those initial years. This questioning technique is an important part of the Six Sigma system, which is a quality control system with a detailed methodology for eliminating defects in any process or service, and mainly used in manufacturing processes. By repeatedly asking why, you can easily peel the layers off the surface level that can lead to the root cause. Toyota Motor Corporation, the world's leading automobile manufacturing corporation, was founded by the originator of the 5 Why principle. In his youth, Toyota realized that most Japanese textile factories used wooden looms to produce cloth, which was a highly labor-oriented, slow and mundane job, and also the quality of the work was not good. After experimenting, he invented a power loom that could work with steam, and this greatly improved the quality and pace of manufacturing textile and saved tons of time in manufacturing. The manufacturing capacity was further enhanced by the invention of fully automated power looms, which were much faster. While Toyota was a genius in inventing new technology, he was equally focused on innovating ways to improve the process of manufacturing. He believed that it was the process that failed rather than the people who failed. The technique of the 5 Whys was invented in his quest to solve process-related problems. He asked the employee the reason 5 times to get to the root cause of the problem. You can use this technique in your life. If you are not able to deliver your best output at your workplace, you can start asking the 5 Whys. To get to the reason, your reasons may start like this. You feel anxious about making a mistake in your work. Ask why it is so, too. Your manager might have scolded you about your quality, which has made you anxious over the work. Why did your boss scold you in the first place? 3. There was a new technology or system that required enough learning before you could implement it in your work, and you couldn't update your knowledge. Why did you fail to learn this new technology? 4. You could not focus on your work because you had a family problem that stole your attention. There's another reason you should ask. What caused your family problems? 5. It was affecting your work behavior when you realized that there was an issue with your relationship with your partner in the back of your mind. The core reason behind your inability to deliver the results at your office was some family problem, which on the surface appeared to be just anxiety and fear from your boss. Asking 5 Whys is not a hard and fast rule. Rather, it's arbitrary. You should go deeper until you see the root cause of the problem. You may have to ask 4, 6, or 7 questions before you can answer the core issue of the problem. When the useful response stops coming further, the point is to stop asking why. The 5 Whys approach works well in a variety of areas. You need to dig deeper to find the real reason behind the problem. It is necessary for you to uncover the connections between different loops in your mind software. You can't find a permanent solution to your problems if you don't know the real cause. If you want to look for ways to improve your mental faculties, you need to create an environment where you build habits that prime your mind to do so. It is important to develop the habits of inquisitiveness and go to the root cause of the problem, because this will prevent you from being stuck in addressing the surface-level symptoms and save you time. The focus of the previous and current chapter was to open up your mind to the newer ways of looking around, so you can focus on honing your mental faculties. You have to take charge of the situation rather than letting it happen to you. In the next chapter, you will learn the core strategies to unlock your mind's hidden and massive potential. The first chapter will show you how to master your attention. Chapter 6 is about mastering attention. The attention span of modern humans has significantly diminished due to the rise of addictive technology. It's often said that a goldfish has an immediate attention span of about 9 seconds, and research suggests that humans have now fallen below that figure, losing their focus approximately every 8 seconds. Since the year 2000, the average attention span has plummeted from 12 seconds to just 8. In today's economy, where attention is the most valuable currency, numerous companies are competing fiercely for your focus. They're investing billions in advertising to capture your attention, often distracting you from the very products and services they want you to buy. This constant barrage of stimuli can detract from our ability to concentrate on the truly important aspects of life. Psychologist William James noted that voluntarily bringing back a wandering attention, over and over again, is the very root of judgment, character, and will. An education that honors this skill would be invaluable. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi elaborates in his writings that attention is akin to psychic energy. He argues that a person in control of their consciousness can focus their attention intentionally, block out distractions, and concentrate for as long as necessary to meet their goals. When your attention is scattered, results remain average. However, by concentrating on a single task, you can achieve much better outcomes. Every focused action you take moves you closer to your objectives, and the strength to reach what you desire often comes from excluding everything else that might divert you. Arc Victor Hansen puts it simply, one of the strongest forces on earth is the power of a focused mind. Mastering your attention can open up a perspective you might miss when constantly distracted. So how can we sharpen our focus and become true masters of our attention? John Hargrave presents two types of attention to consider. The first is voluntary or top-down attention, where you consciously direct your mind towards a task. The second is reflexive or bottom-up attention, where something unexpectedly captures your focus, like when someone calls your name in a crowd. The modern challenge lies in enhancing both top-down and bottom-up attention. To improve your concentration abilities, you should focus on two key activities: minimizing distractions and retraining your mind through concentration exercises. Distractions can seriously impede your attention. By reducing them, you can regain better focus. The first Extreme Memory Tournament in San Diego is a perfect example of how this can work. 16 participants, known as memory athletes, were challenged to memorize information displayed on screens quickly and accurately. One competitor took distraction reduction to an extreme by wearing noise-canceling headphones, along with a cap featuring a long visor and side flaps. The setup allowed him to see only the screen, similar to how horses wear blinders. His goal was to eliminate any possibility of distraction and strengthen his reflexive attention management. While I wouldn't suggest mimicking this individual's approach, especially if you're working in a team environment, it illustrates how memory athletes combat distraction. To truly unlock your mental potential, you must minimize the distractions that hinder your focus. When you need to concentrate on crucial work, distractions can come in many forms. So, how can you create an environment conducive to focus? Here are a few strategies to consider. Mute all notifications and schedule specific times for checking social media. Continuous notifications tend to distract us, as they trigger a release of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical, particularly with elements of novelty. The cycle of distraction can significantly undermine your ability to concentrate. Some may argue that it's essential to check emails immediately. In that case, consider silencing your email notifications as well. Limit yourself to those hours if you want to watch these emails. You can try to reduce the number of times you check your email. Internet addiction is also a source of distraction. You might want to check the statistics frequently. At times, you may want to check out some news. These are some of the excuses you make to get away from work. There should be a dedicated time slot for such distraction. Take a quick look at your workstation. Is it clumsy or organized? If the environment around you is scattered, it will affect the concentration ability of your mind, as the scattered things will distract you from the work you are doing. Undergraduates were exposed to one of two environments. There was a cluttered office with cups and boxes. The other desk was clean and tidy. After exposure, the students were asked to do a task that was described to them as challenging, but in reality the task was unsolvable. The students exposed to the neat office stuck with the problem for an average of 18 minutes, compared to the ones who saw the messy desk, who could only focus for about 11 minutes. Eliminating distraction means getting rid of anything that can distract you. The BBC method was recommended by experts at Harvard Business Review when it comes to getting rid of distraction and maintaining your focus on the thing at hand. The BBC method uses your brain as a brake pedal. Whenever you are in the middle of important work and there is something coming to hijack your attention, apply the ABC formula. Be aware of the options in front of you. Take a deep breath and consider your options. After considering your main goals, choose carefully. Accept the new thing that popped up during your important work if it helps you progress on the important work. After your important work, choose to assign a lower priority to the new thing. 2. Concentration tricks can help you retrain your mind. Let's talk about the second important aspect of attention, namely voluntary or top-bottom attention by way of learning techniques to redirecting your mind to a particular task or activity. Concentration tricks are mental games that focus on concentrating on a single thing. The focus point could be anything, and the simplest is your breath. The goal of doing this is to increase the attention capacity, and it would sound similar to meditation or mindfulness practice. Hargrave preferred to give them the name of concentration tricks, not meditation. You will be able to hack your mind if you are able to direct your attention to any particular thing. Sitting for a period of 20 minutes is a basic concentration trick. You can start with 5 minutes and gradually increase it to 10 and 20 minutes. In this period of sitting quietly, you need to focus on your breath. You have to observe how many times you got distracted from your breath. If you notice that your thoughts sway in your mind, just count that instance and give yourself a score of or 2. Do this for the entire period. Strengthening your attention muscle is what it means when you find yourself lost in thoughts. If you caught your mind wandering 20 times on your first try, you may find that the instances reduced to 10, which is a winning score for you. Concentration games can be made easier and more interesting by offering them in different variations. The key recommendation is to decide in advance what variant you will be using during concentration practice. If you notice, you will want to change the variant in between the concentration practice, but please realize that this is the mind's trick to get distracted from what it was intended to focus on. Pick the trick and stick to it. Here are a few variations of the concentration technique suggested by Hargrave. Instead of focusing on the nostrils, focus on the point between the eyebrows. Pretend each thought is an alien. Stay alert for stray aliens breaking through your defense shield by focusing on your breath. Whenever you see a thought that causes an alien to explode with a hydrogen ion particle blaster, mentally say, "thought," which causes the alien to explode with a hydrogen ion particle blaster. Instead of focusing on the nostrils, focus on the point between the breasts. Instead of focusing on the nostrils, focus on the air itself as you inhale and exhale. Imagine taking in pure oxygen, a delicious smell, or a healing elixir. The better you perform on the concentration games, the sooner you will improve your attention capacity, which in turn will improve your mental faculties to see your goal clearly and make better decisions. What about multitasking? Some people who think handling multiple tasks simultaneously gets more things done in less time would need some evidence to prove otherwise. According to enough scientific research, multitasking is a myth. Studies show that you are slower when you switch between tasks than when you do one task repeatedly. The human brain does not have the capacity to focus on several tasks at the same time. If you switch back and forth between tasks very quickly, it results in a loss of productivity. People who work all the time can't filter out irrelevancy. They don't have a working memory. They are chronically distracted. They're terrible at multitasking. They're worse at multitasking when we ask them to. So they are pretty much mental wrecks. Cal Newport stated in his book that there is a concept of attention residue. When you try to switch between different activities frequently, your attention doesn't immediately follow. This is because you are still thinking about the original task. People show poor performance in the next activity due to the attention residue in the original task. The performance is going to get more intense. Newport says that to produce at your peak level, you need to work for extended periods with full concentration on a single task. The type of work that maximizes performance is deep work. The formula for high-quality work was suggested by Newport. The quality of your work depends on the intensity of focus on an important task for a longer period of time. Developing your focus muscles is important to harness the maximum potential of your mind. The twofold approach of reclaiming your attention by getting rid of distraction and using concentration tricks to retrain your mind serve a dual purpose. First, you won't be affected by distraction, and second, you build your attention by training your mind to focus on one thing for longer. Let's move on to the next chapter to understand other mental work necessary to gain momentum by involving your subconscious mind in the game. Chapter 7, Tapping the Subconscious. Unleashing Your Inner Power is about imagination. It certainly sounds like a bold statement, and many people might dismiss this idea outright. However, this isn't just a rhetorical flourish. Albert Einstein crafted his groundbreaking theories primarily through the power of his imagination. Interestingly, he wasn't always considered a top learner. His school experiences and tenure at the patent office would suggest otherwise. In fact, his frustration was so palpable that a teacher once remarked, "Nothing will ever become of you." At that time, he didn't think much of his own knowledge, tethered as he was to a low-level job as a third-class patent clerk. Yet, the silver lining of his government role was the ample time it allowed him to think creatively. He would jot down his ideas and tuck them away in drawers. For instance, he often pondered, what would it feel like to ride on a beam of light? This kind of inquisitive thinking exemplified his philosophy of remaining open to any thought that crossed his mind. Einstein's award-winning ideas didn't come to fruition in a laboratory or through tangible experiments. They were born in the recesses of his imagination. He attributed his remarkable abilities to this imaginative power, firmly believing that imagination is a superior mode of thinking. Einstein held that imagination far outweighed knowledge, since knowledge is finite, while imagination is the birthplace of innovation. He serves as a prime example of how one can harness the mind's potential for creative thinking. Anyone genuinely interested in maximizing intellectual capacity should understand the significance of imagination. To fully unlock the mind's creative abilities, it's essential to cultivate and nurture this vital cognitive process. Before delving into how we can develop our imaginations, let's clarify what imagination is. According to the dictionary, imagination is the ability to form mental images of things that aren't present to the senses or have never been fully perceived in reality. This means that with imagination, you can construct concepts in your mind by merging various ideas, resulting in something entirely new and non-existent. The possibilities for what you can imagine are limitless. You are free to let your mind wander and explore fantastical scenarios. For illustrative purposes, I can envision a world where Earth and the planets revolve around the moon. While that scenario remains purely fantastical, it's a testament to the creativity of our minds. There's no need for special training or courses to start imagining. Everyone possesses the capacity to envision anything. It's crucial to take this ability seriously, as imagination can manifest in the real world. Numerous studies highlight its power. A notable example comes from an experiment led by Ellen Langer, a Harvard psychology professor in 1979. She aimed to explore the impact of imagination on physical health. In the study, participants in their 70s were immersed in an environment designed to replicate the late 1950s, complete with era-specific music, black and white television, vintage radios, and magazines. They were instructed to embody their younger selves, reflecting on their past experiences while behaving like young people of that time. None of the elements could disrupt the illusion of youth. Remarkably, the results were astounding. Participants demonstrated significant improvements across various age-related metrics, appearing younger than before their experience, with some even showing enhanced vision. The New York Times Magazine noted that by mentally placing themselves in a bygone era, their bodies followed suit. Any inventions have stemmed from the power of imagination, enhancing the lives of countless individuals. A prominent example is Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, who envisioned a way to simplify the shopping experience for consumers. His goal was to enable purchases with a single click. This concept arose in the late 1990s, during a time when the internet was still in its infancy, and web development required extensive technical know-how. When he shared his idea with his web developer, he was told that achieving a one-click purchase would entail numerous complicated steps, such as collecting customer details and connecting with payment processors. The developers claimed it would be incredibly challenging to integrate everything seamlessly for a one-click buying experience. Thanks to Amazon, we now have an amazing one-click buy button, which originated from the wild imagination of Jeff Bezos. Love using this feature on Amazon when I decide to buy a product. All of us may still be using phones with limited functions if not for the imagination of Steve Jobs. Musk imagined using spaceships to make traveling faster on Earth. Even though rockets were invented to carry spacecrafts into space, Musk's imagination was completely different. The idea was to use a spaceship that would start from low on Earth, travel into space, and then land on Earth. It could cover the travel between any two locations in the world in less than an hour. It's possible to travel from Shanghai to New York in 40 minutes. Travel everywhere on Earth within 30 minutes. 12 has Musk's video. Don't assume that imagination is only available to a limited number of people. We have a problem with our outlook towards the thing. When John Hargrave says it's right, yeah, he puts it that way. We have a strange attitude towards imagination. Some ideas will sound crazy if you're just starting out. Every great idea seemed crazy in the beginning. The people in the past thought that the Earth was round and not the center of the universe. The world is mostly affected by the people with the most unconventional thinking. Steve Jobs said those who are crazy enough to think they can change the world usually do. How do you improve your imagination? People are not able to imagine because imagination is hard. We are talking about creating a clear mental picture of things. There are a few things you can do to build your imagination muscles. Imagine the possibility of anything that you can think of, and then find ways to support it. Don't make fun of or laugh at any possibility. The job of our mind is to ensure your survival because of the limitation of your mind, which makes you choose thoughts based on known past and stops you from traveling into unknown future. Everything known is safe, and everything unknown means danger. You might think of building a hanging house that stays in the air and flying too high with the power of imagination. Try to come up with ways that you could achieve this. How would you make this a reality if you couldn't overcome the force of gravity and the house wouldn't get pulled down? How would you make sure you don't get lost in space if you go too high in space? How would you make sure that your house does not collide with something? How would you reduce the cost of staying in the hanging house with all your family members, furniture, belongings, etc.? The idea was not to let your rational mind become a hurdle in order to see what comes to you. You get ideas to make the exercises possible once you start putting your mind to it. While the above experiment was a bit stretch of imagination, let's come to the ground to see if we can make it happen. How about doubling your income in a year? Again, your inner critic will laugh, but give yourself a challenge and think about it. Think about how you can make it if you don't have any limiting thoughts. What you should probably do is below. Take a look at the outliers in your industry and see if anyone has done it. Know their story, learn from them, and engage them as coaches. Can you imagine learning a new skill that can double your income if it's difficult in your field? You can get more return on your time invested if you examine what your daily activities are and what activities need to be replaced. Imagination allows you to think of a better future. You are destined to live the way you have always lived if you can't imagine a better future. It is the power of imagination that will help you sow the seeds of possibility if you are not content with your past and present. We can say that imagination is reality. It is the same as the blueprints to the skyscraper. There is a helpful tool that will help you visualize your future. Visualization. You might ask, we just talked about imagination, then why are we talking about visualization? Aren't they the same? Imagination and visualization might be similar to some people. It is important to clarify the difference between imagination and visualization. You have the ability to create something in your mind. It is the main requirement for the creativity building block. Visualization is more specific and can be called a targeted imagination. Specific outcome can be visualized by following a specific process. The better the visualization, the more details, more vividness, more imagery and sensory experiences you will have in your mind. This concept will be explained better by an example of another genius. The greatest nerd of his time was the one who had the ability to mentally visualize images so clearly that they were actually present in the world out there. During his lifetime, the Serbian-American inventor was awarded more than 300 patents for his diverse set of inventions, like electric motors, ship navigation devices, wireless lighting, etc. He was the inventor of the modern alternate current motor. As a perfect example of a mind hacker, Tesla was known for many years to perfect his ideas about creating a device that could project the thoughts running in a human mind onto the wall. He was gifted with visual thinking skills. He could imagine the entire motor circuitry in his mind if you said a word in front of him. By working through all the problems, obstacles, and the complete process in your mind, he developed this ability to run mental visualization or simulations, a detailed picture of exactly what you wanted to achieve. This is different from imagination because it is a targeted imagination. One way to describe imagination is a broad imagery of the final destination, but visualization is a very specific and detailed step and process to reach there. Disney was known for his likings of visualization, and he came up with the term engineering. His idea was to visualize a sensory-rich visualization, and this simple technique has proven beneficial to athletes who got their best results due to this technique only. Mental preparation is as important for any kind of performance outside as physical training is. The Art of Mental Training is a book written by D.A.C. Gonzalez. Pele would lay down in the locker room an hour before every game. He would use one towel to cover his eyes and the other to roll up a towel. He would go to work in his mental gym. He would think of playing on the beach as a kid, seeing and feeling the love and enthusiasm with which that little version of him ran around the soccer field. He imagined some of his best performances, where he excelled. He'd see it. He'd feel it. He would imagine that day's performance, the enthusiasm and love of his childhood and the mastery of his recent performances, melded into an extraordinary performance in his mind for that next game within these 30 minutes of engineering. That was what he did before every game. He would walk onto the field and be unstoppable, doing what he had just experienced in his mind. It's important to remember that you need to focus on your performance and not on the results. Pele didn't think about getting a gold medal or $1 million check after the game. He focused on his performance rather than the outcomes. There are studies to back up the effectiveness of visualization. When people are asked to imagine a future scenario, then asked about the likelihood of achieving that scenario, they believe that it is more likely to happen if they have put in time doing the mental visualization. The results of a psychological study that tells how mental stimulation or visualization help people go from point A to point B is explained in one study. The class of students were divided into 3 different groups to prepare for the exam. The researchers asked the first group of students to imagine getting an A, just seeing the final outcome, and feel good about it. The second group of students were asked to do a mental visualization of each activity from that day until the day when the results come out. They needed to visualize where and when they would study, how they would handle the temptation to procrastination, taking the exam itself, then the final test score, and a rush of good feeling. Third group studied the way they were used to. While the first group was focused on the end goal, the second group needed to visualize or do a mental simulation of the entire process of looking at the obstacles, how to handle them, and finally getting a good score. The results clearly showed the power of visualization. The first group of students scored about the same as the third group, but the second group scored 8 points higher because they mentally practiced getting to a good grade for 5 minutes a day. The researchers concluded that visualizing success decreases our motivation to actually do the work that leads to success. Students who ran mental simulations showed better planning skills and less anxiety at test time. Don't get trapped into the outcome. Visualization instead focus on the process. Visualization. In her book Succeed, How We Can Reach Our Goals, Halverson talks about visualization. She tells us, don't visualize success. Visualize the steps you will take in order to succeed. Just imagining yourself crossing the finish line doesn't help you get there, but visualization of how you run the race will give you greater confidence and leave you better prepared for the task ahead. That is definitely realistic optimism. How should you use visualization? To understand how you should carry out the visualization process, we should take an example of a marathon. Visualize yourself running well, legs pumping like pistons, arms relaxed, breathing controlled. In your mind, break the course into sections and visualize how you will run each part. Imagine what it will feel like when you hit the wall, the point in the race where your body wants to stop, and what you must do to break through it. You may never run a marathon. Success cannot be guaranteed by visualization. It doesn't replace hard work and practice. It is a powerful way to achieve positive behavioral change and create the life you desire. The techniques suggested in this section are well beyond the realm of the known and explore the unknown and unexplored territories of your mind. Our conscious mind is just 10 of our mind's abilities, while the remaining 90 is the subconscious mind. If you have ambitious goals of hacking your mind, then you need to follow the approaches that go beyond your conscious mind. You need to explore and harness the potential of your mind at the deepest levels. It is possible to create anything that you could imagine in your mind with the help of imagination and visualization. Let's learn another technique in the next chapter to get maximum benefits from the messages emerging from the deeper levels of our mind. Chapter 8. Creating Your Ideal Reality is the topic of Chapter 8. We talked about how imagination and visualization helped Einstein and others tap into the infinite potential of their minds. Thomas Edison is the inventor of the electric bulb and many other world-changing inventions. He had over 1,000 patents registered in his name. Though he was a prolific inventor, his biggest contribution appears to be the invention of the process of invention itself. The power of the subconscious mind and how it can produce ideas quickly was a belief of the man. He used the ideas from his mind very well. How, you ask? He used his power nap strategy to get the solutions from his mind. He would analyze complex problems, thinking rigorously over the ideas by consuming every piece of information on that problem. Then he would strategically go into his power nap mode. Every moment of your life, our subconscious mind is on duty. All bodily function of respiration, blood circulation, and digestion continues to happen during our sleep as well. Napoleon Hill said, "Your subconscious mind works continuously while you are awake and sleep." During that short power nap, he would drop a box of questions onto his mind. He'd put a bed in his office for his power naps to take. He used to wake up from his nap and do something. He would write down the ideas that were presented to him. He reached out to his team of researchers to conduct experiments on his ideas after writing them down. He wrote as many ideas down as he could in his small notebook, which formed the basis for his research and inventions. Similarly, Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Atlantic, is also known to keep a small diary with him all the time to keep track of different ideas popping into his head. He believed that ideas do not come at a specific place or time. They are free birds. It is difficult to invite them back once they are gone, so it is you who has to capture them. This idea, capturing work, needs to be done quickly. They say that until it is on paper, it is vapor. You might have heard that top corporate executives often come up with ideas during evening cocktails and chart out their plan on napkins. You will only be able to plan out the details once you see it on paper. While imagination and simulation, which you learned about in the previous section, immerse you within yourself to mentally see the possibilities. The writing of your ideas is the first step toward bringing those ideas into fruition. Writing is a gateway from mental thoughts to physical products. The material world has always had 3 stages. The emergence of an idea in your head is the first stage, followed by creation of a tangible product or service. One important step in between is capturing that idea on paper and preparing a detailed plan of how it would work in reality. Free space for your mind to generate more ideas comes from writing. David Allen, the best-selling author of the book Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, emphasizes the importance of writing on paper and compares it to creating a second mind outside that you can refer to again, while keeping your mind free to focus on imagination and visualization. Journaling. While we talked about writing down the thoughts that pop up in your mind, there's another way of making writing a part of your daily habit. In a more systematic way, you write down your thoughts or ideas in a journal. There's a lot of literature that says our mind thinks 60,000 thoughts a day. The irony is that most of the thoughts are the same, which your mind keeps repeating over and over again. At any point in time, you would have around 5 to 7 different thoughts. Writing down these thoughts in your journal will clear your head for better thinking and decision-making. Journaling is one of the most beneficial kind of writing. 2005 study found that the kind of writing often connected with journaling is therapeutic. The study found that people who wrote about traumatic events were less likely to get sick and more likely to be affected by trauma. The important stuff gets through the reticular activated system in your brain, which is a bundle of nerves at your brainstem. Our brains are constantly bombarded with information. It is not possible for our mind to let all the data and information in. The type of information that your mind finds most relevant is what AS allows you to decide you want to buy a red Honda. You may see more red Hondas on the street once you start thinking about the red Honda. It isn't that people have started buying and driving more such cars, but it is your brain's RAS in play. When you write about your goals, dreams, and ambitions, you see it from your eyes in front of you on the paper, which makes you notice the relevant opportunities, which otherwise you will miss. What should be written in your journal? In his book, The Miracle Morning, the not-so-obvious secret guaranteed to transform your life, Hal Elrod talks about 6 morning rituals that one should follow to kickstart the day with full energy and to maximize one's potential. He calls them AVERS, which stands for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and writing. Journaling is a part of your morning routine. He suggests what one should cover in their journal. What are you grateful for today? What are your specific accomplishments? What are your specific areas of improvement? What are the top 5 things you must do today to take your life to the next level? You can get a detailed perspective of journal writing and what it should contain from this link. In the previous section, you learned how to use imagination and visualization to access the innate potential of your mind. The current section was about putting your ideas and thoughts in the material world. Even though you see those ideas on paper, they have the potential to become a reality. It is time to put those ideas into action. You come across different kinds of people and different perspectives when you get out in the world. There could be more than one perspective about the idea. In the next step of your mind hacking journey, we will specifically examine the different types of perspectives you need to keep in mind before you finally decide the best way to go forward with your idea. Chapter 9. Expanding your mind, the power of multi-perspective thinking. Consider this straightforward example. Imagine you love hitting the gym while your spouse or partner prefers outdoor activities like walking or running. Both options have their merits, but let's explore why going to the gym might have the edge. For starters, the gym offers a wide range of equipment, allowing you to target different muscle groups effectively. You can follow specific workout routines designed to strengthen particular areas of your body. Weather won't be a hindrance at the gym, whether it's raining, sunny, or chilly outside. Also, gym goers often have to choose between early mornings or evenings, which can fit many schedules. Eating like minded individuals with similar health goals is another benefit of working out at the gym. Additionally, trainers can provide personalized exercise plans tailored to your specific needs and aspirations. You could easily spiral into a long list of benefits supporting gym workouts. However, it's essential to acknowledge that both you and your partner have valid reasons for your preferences. The key takeaway here is that understanding your partner's viewpoint is crucial, especially in more complex situations. For example, if you're at odds with your boss regarding performance expectations or have challenges with a subordinate, consider that you might not fully grasp their perspective, motivations, or work style. When we lack this understanding, we often make hasty judgments, which breeds ongoing conflict. Many of our issues arise from our failure to appreciate differing viewpoints. Picture 2 people standing outside on a beautiful sunny day, both wearing different shades of sunglasses. They'll have distinct interpretations of what's happening outside, even though there's only one reality. In previous discussions, we touched upon how our cognitive biases prompt us to seek evidence that supports our beliefs, overshadowing the importance of understanding others' perspectives. This lack of perspective not only complicates problem solving but also strains our relationships with family, friends, and colleagues. Developing the ability to think from various angles allows us to tap into our mind's full potential. By embracing a multi-perspective mindset, we can collaborate to solve problems instead of merely arguing. Stephen R. Covey highlights this as a vital habit in his acclaimed book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So how can you cultivate this multi-perspective thinking? Often, the primary hurdle is recognizing that there are numerous ways to approach a problem. Edward de Bono, in his book How to Have a Beautiful Mind, introduced the concept of 6 thinking hats to encourage viewing issues from multiple angles. Imagine 4 individuals standing at different points around a building, tasked with describing its appearance and construction details. After their observations, they gather to share their perspective. Naturally, each person's description will reflect their unique vantage point, making it challenging for them to fully grasp each other's observations. The most effective way to enhance understanding among them is to have everyone walk around the building, offering them a chance to see it from different sides. This approach aligns perfectly with the 6 thinking hats concept, encouraging us to view a problem from various angles before arriving at a solution. But why use hats in this analogy? The answer is quite simple. Hats can be easily put on and taken off. By thinking of perspectives as hats, you can readily adopt any viewpoint as needed without having to alter your core beliefs. This metaphor reflects a flexible mindset. Since our right brain processes imagery well, assigning colors to the 6 hats aids in this concept. The hats are colored white, red, black, yellow, green, and blue, with each representing a distinct way of approaching a situation. Now, let's delve deeper into how each of these hats works. 1. The white hat. The white color reminds you of white paper, which means there needs to be something written first on this paper. The white thinking hat requires you to have more information before you can think about analyzing it. The facts need to be determined by this hat. If the question in your mind is what business idea you should pick up to start your venture, or whether you should take up a particular job or not, this white hat is the most necessary hat to start with. When you come across a problem, you need to put on the white hat first so that you can get as much information as you can about the problem. If you reach the office at 9 a.m., the factual information is you are 5 minutes late. This hat does not get into the reasons, suggestions, feelings, etc. Determine the gaps you have and what you can deduce from the information you currently have. Lack of basic information is the primary cause of not being able to make correct decisions. You should collect as much information as possible, but don't be at the other extreme, where you just keep collecting information and don't make a decision. Beware of this. The idea here is not to make decisions based on half-baked information, but to be aware not to be overcautious where you just keep collecting information to make a perfect decision. The 40-70 rule was in the previous chapter. 2. The red hat. The red color symbolizes warmth and hotness, and this red thinking hat requires you to consider your feelings about the problem in front of you. This is your emotional hat. This hat requires you to be intuitive or instinctive and listen to your gut reactions without thinking about any rationale or justification. After putting on a hat, how do you feel about it? Is it a good idea to go ahead with a particular person in a business partnership? Why doesn't it feel right to hire this person? Most of the time, such feelings are simply the result of your intuition. There is no room for reasoning when you wear a red hat. In a serious decision, people don't use their feelings or emotions for moving ahead. Rather, they want to seem more logical and rational. There are certain situations where you have no other choice but to trust your gut and make decisions. When there is a lack of information due to venturing into the uncharted territories, most high achievers treat their intuition as a precious asset and take decisions based on what feels right to them. If you are a head person and not a heart person, paying attention to the emotional aspects of the things has the potential to reveal certain other aspects, which you would find very difficult to understand with your rational mind. Try to listen to what feels right or wrong to you and trust the process. 3. The black hat. Black hat is the most used hat in our day-to-day interactions and behavior. Critical thinking is when you use logic and judgment to find out what's wrong in a situation. The purpose of this hat is to protect you from things that might go wrong when you make a decision. The black hat makes you question whether the alternatives available in front of you match the parameters you have chosen for a particular decision. If you are considering quitting your current job to take up another one, you should think about it. You have to look at things in the new job that don't fit with your values. You might not like certain things in a job that offers you a higher salary package. The black hat requires you to critically assess the situation, while the white hat requires you to collect more information. You have to ask things that might go wrong to help you make a decision. You should not be using this hat as an excuse to reject the idea. The objective is to be objective while critically examining the situation and making a decision based on the facts. For the yellow hat, we don't use this hat frequently in our day-to-day lives. In a modern world, everyone is trying to prove their argument and make others realize that they are wrong. It's like a courtroom situation, where the litigator's only job is to find fault with the other side's arguments and hide his own negative points to win the litigation. That is the necessity of legal battles. If we apply this formula while using our thinking abilities, it will do more harm than good. The yellow hat is not the same as the black hat. Here, you look for value, benefits, and all the positive points in a given situation, instead of looking at the brighter side. Take an example. If you hear about a guy who drops out of college to test out a business idea, your reaction will be to ridicule him. You will tell him to complete his education first, and then think about pursuing something else in case things don't go according to plan. He can get a job with that education. If you observe carefully, you just wore a black hat. The yellow hat wants you to find the benefits and values out of this situation. Any college dropouts who never thought of formal education as the only way to get a job built massive businesses to offer jobs to college graduates. The yellow hat encourages you to take advantage of the situation at hand. Use this hat to gather information about what is already good in the situation and how you can benefit from it. For some people, getting laid off from their job paves the way to the entrepreneurial world and offers them the financial and time freedom which they wouldn't have thought otherwise. It is recommended to use this yellow hat to look at the opportunities and advantages of any situation. 5. The green hat. Think of green as nature, vegetation, and growth. The green thinking hat requires you to be creative and offer solutions to any problem. You need to think about different ways of doing the things. This is the possibility thinking hat. You have to think about ways to make things happen. Whether your ideas are practical or not is not the problem with this hat. You just need to release your creative juices. The job of this hat is to make you think about the possibilities. This requires imagination. Einstein said in the previous section that imagination is better than knowledge. Is there any other route where you can shorten the travel distance? Or could you use drones to deliver your products to the distributors? Or is it possible to use some means of transport where, due to cheaper fuel, you can reduce the distribution cost? This hat is all about scratching your head and coming up with new ideas to look at the problem. The white, black, red, and yellow hat would need to be looked at again, as this option increases the possibilities or alternatives. 6. The blue hat. The last one is the blue thinking hat. De Bono compares the blue thinking hat to the blue sky, which means a top-level view at 40,000 feet up or an overview of the broader picture. Most people put only a few types of hats on. Some wear a black hat because they look at the negative and don't take any action. Others might just use the yellow hat and run the risk of being trapped into positive thinking, being ignorant of real risks involved in the situations. The blue thinking hat is used to organize various hats in your thinking process. The blue hat is used to set the focus in decision-making. The blue hat makes you focus on the immediate question at hand. The focal point of the discussion is asked, what is the problem? What do we want to think about? The blue hat is in charge of the organization of various thinking hats. The blue hat sets the sequence of putting specific hats on, one after the other, and keeps generating the points out of each discussion. When sitting among a group of people discussing the problem, the blue hat organizes the discussion and reminds people, no, we are talking with the yellow hat on now, And the point you have made is with the red hat, we need to figure out the best alternatives. So please come up with more green hat ideas. The controlling hat is the blue hat. It is like the conductor of an orchestra to get the music to play out of different instruments at the same time. The better you organize the hats, the better you will understand the problem. The result are better decision-making. The thinking hat's metaphor offers a more complete and elaborate segregation of the various thinking directions you should go to strengthen your decision-making muscle. The more you use different thinking perspectives in your life, the more you will be able to come up with solutions to complex problems. The last section of this book requires you to look outside your mind. We will look at different parts of your body, which will help sharpen your brain's abilities. Chapter 10 is Body and Mind, a Unified Approach to Genius. Who hasn't heard the familiar saying, a healthy mind is in a healthy body? While growing up, if your body's organs aren't functioning at their best, your mind won't be able to operate at peak performance. Your brain requires energy, an oxygen supply, and a vibrant flow of blood to work efficiently. We often overlook the importance of physical health, prioritizing work instead. However, when we neglect our physical well-being, we notice a decline in our mental capabilities. Think about how often you've succumbed to your own excuses. I don't have time to exercise for just 15 minutes a day, or I can't possibly sleep more than 4 hours. Perhaps you tell yourself, there's just too much to do and not enough time. You might even justify indulging in a large pizza or a few hamburgers for lunch, thinking it will carry you through the day. Many people believe that focusing on our health feels like an extra burden rather than a pathway to increased productivity. In truth, it's like someone saying, I need to drive my car faster to reach my destination, but I can't stop for gas. Eventually, when the fuel runs out, the priority shifts to finding gas just to keep moving. We often treat our bodies the same way. We're so caught up in chasing our goals that we forget our body is the vehicle making it all possible. We might understand this concept intellectually, but it's easy to overlook its significance in our daily lives. If you're still reading, it's evident you want to maximize your potential, and that starts with taking care of your body. By nurturing it, you'll uncover the full power of your mind. Don't want to overwhelm you, but there are 3 key areas of your health that you must prioritize: diet, exercise, sleep. In earlier sections of this book, you learned various strategies to strengthen your mental muscles, enabling your mind to work smarter, not just harder. You're aiming for holistic results, not merely short bursts of productivity. Think of life as a marathon, where you seek sustainable, long-term results. Just as a tripod provides stability for a high-quality DSLR camera, the 3 pillars of your health support your overall vitality. Without a sturdy tripod, your camera won't capture clear images, and similarly, neglecting any of these health aspects will detrimentally affect your mental capacity. Let's dive deeper into these health pillars, starting with diet. You truly are what you eat. I once watched a video featuring Jaggi Vasudev, an Indian yogi and best-selling author. Someone posed an intriguing question: can you convert a banana into a human being? His fascinating response was that everyone has the ability to do just that. When you eat a banana, it becomes part of you. Its particles transform into blood, energy, and flesh. It's a remarkable perspective, isn't it? This also implies that every food has unique characteristics that you adopt by consuming it. For example, indulging in burgers, pizzas, and fast foods has a markedly different impact on your body compared to eating green vegetables and fresh salad. You may have noticed these differences yourself. The essence remains the same. A healthy mind thrives in a healthy body, and the foundation of that body is food. Food is the primary source of energy and nutrition, not exercise or sleep. While different foods play crucial roles in maintaining the health of various body parts, some are particularly beneficial for your brain. According to WEM, here's a list of some of the most impactful brain foods. Blueberries. Research has shown that blueberries help protect the brain from oxidative stress and may mitigate the effects of age-related conditions like Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Studies indicate that a blueberry-rich diet can enhance both learning and motor skills in aging rats, making them mentally comparable to younger ones. No wonder they call them brainberries. Ann Coulsey, managing director of Dr. Ann's 10-step diet, emphasizes the importance of nutritious eating for overall health. Higher levels of vitamin E correspond to less cognitive decline as you get older. Add an ounce a day of walnuts, hazelnuts, Brazil nuts, filberts, almonds, cashews, peanuts, sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, and hydrogenated nut butter such as peanut butter, almond butter, and tahini. Though it's a fruit with a lot of fat, it's also a good source of monounsaturated fat, which contributes to a healthy brain, as hypertension is a risk factor for the decline in cognitive abilities. A lower blood pressure should promote brain health. If you want to add a side dish to your daily meal, experts recommend just 1/3 to 1/2 of an avocados. Whole grains such as oatmeal, whole grain breads, and brown rice can reduce the risk for heart disease. Every organ in the body is dependent on blood flow. Good flow to the organ system, which includes the brain, is promoted if you promote cardiovascular health. While wheat germ is not a whole grain, it is still a good food because it has vitamin Z and omega-3s. Experts recommend 1-2 cup of whole grain cereals, 1 slice of bread 2 to 3 times a day, or 2 ounces of wheat germ a day. The sugars are stable with the help of beans. The brain depends on a steady stream of energy, which comes from beans, since it can't store glucose. It is recommended to consume 1-2 cup of bean every day. Pomegranate juice protects the brain from the damage caused by free radicals. The brain is more sensitive to damage from free radicals than any other part of the body, says David Perlmutter, the managing director, author of the Better Brain book. Fruits and vegetables with bright colors are high on Perlmutter's list of brainy foods. Diluted with spring water or seltzer is recommended by experts. 2 to 3 cups a day of freshly brewed tea contains a modest amount of caffeine and can boost brain power by enhancing memory, focus, and mood. The tea class known as catechizes promotes healthy blood flow. It has to be freshly brewed, and tea bags can also work. Salmon are rich in omega-3 essential fatty acids, which are essential for brain function. Anti-inflammatory substances are found in omega-3s. It is best to serve a 4-ounce serving 2 to 3 times a week. Dark chocolate. Dark chocolate contains several natural stimulants, including caffeine, which enhances focus and concentration, and stimulates the production of endorphins, which helps improve mood. All the benefit will be provided by 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce a day. If you nurture your body with the food directly benefiting your brain, you are already ahead in your game by creating a solid infrastructure for your mind, which will definitely boost your brain's ability to the next level. 2. Exercise. Our bodies are not designed to be standing upright. We have some purpose since we are given legs. We can't fully understand everything created by God, but there is a bigger universal plan of which we are just a part. It was our ability to move that enabled us to find food. We were able to run away from dangerous animals and protect ourselves in dense, dangerous forests. The industrial age created a huge demand for manual labor, and our ability to move and work with our hands provided the food on our table. Our brain became the chief operating officer of our bodies after the information age, and the requirement of moving our body is now heavily reduced. You can sit for hours and still make money. This approach has taken a toll on our physical and mental health. The cases of stress and depression are higher than ever. You can't ignore the benefits of exercise in your quest to hack your mind and tap its full potential. It is more important to nourish our brains than it is to keep your entire body healthy by allowing the proper digestion of food. John Rady states in his book that exercise is the best defense against everything from depression to addiction to Alzheimer's. The book looks at the connection between exercise and the brain. He states in the book that physical activity sparks biological changes that encourage brain cells to bind to one another. The connections that must be made for the brain to learn, reflect the brain's fundamental ability to adapt to challenges. The more neuroscientists discover about this process, the clearer it is that exercise creates an environment in which the brain is ready, willing, and able to learn. Regular exercise regime stimulates the release of positive neurotransmitters. Kelly McGonigal is a psychologist and researcher. When neuroscientists peered inside the brains of new exercisers, they saw an increase in gray matter and white matter. The insulation on brain cells helps them communicate quickly. The prefrontal cortex shows the largest training effect when it comes to physical exercise. Scientists have discovered that a hormone called irisin is linked to improved health and cognitive function. The researchers found that part of the brain that responds to exercise is the hippocampus. Experiments show that the structure of the hippocampus increases when you are physically fit. Since the hippocampus is at the core of the brain's learning and memory systems, it has memory boosting effects due to improved cardiovascular fitness. The research shows that exercising is a great way to hack the potential of your brain. Everyone has different exercise needs, and I can't recommend a specific exercise. Tony Robbins, one of the most sought-out strategy coach, suggests an approach which saves time as well as gives you intensive exercise in just 15 minutes. The Tony Robbins workout routine is 15 minutes of pure torture. 3. Let's talk about sleep, the most important pillar of your existence. Some people think sleep is just lying down in bed for 8 hours. Some people advocate that you spend 1/3 of your life sleeping and doing nothing, as if suggesting that sleep is a waste of time. But this is not true. If you consistently compromise and deprive yourself of the required number of sleep hours, you are already in the grip of stress and anxiety. Sleep deprivation studies show a variable impact on mood, cognitive performance, and motor function due to an increasing sleep propensity and destabilization of the wake state. Executive attention, working memory, and higher cognitive functions are particularly vulnerable to sleep loss. If you don't get enough sleep, your cells can't absorb sugar from the main bloodstream. They're exhausted because of the lack of glucose. Our brain wants to conserve the energy for the body's normal operations, as there is low stock of energy, and it therefore wants to retain enough for any emergency situation. Our prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for executive functions like focus, memory, and making decisions, is the most affected by sleep deprivation. It has been shown that sleep loss can cause temporary changes in cerebral metabolism, cognitive, emotion, and behavior. This is scary enough. The legends used sleep to their advantage. Edison was famous for taking power naps during the day. He created 2 fresh mornings every day with small naps called power naps and led his country from the brink of defeat to victory. Ultra performers give so much weight to sleep. It is necessary to sleep to give your body and brain rest. It repairs the damaged cells. Sleep is important to grow your body and mind. The author of Toughness Training for Life gives the formula for growth. It is important to understand that only rarely does the volume of stress defeat us. Far more often, the agent of defeat is insufficient capacity for recovery after the stress. Great recovery is required for great stress. Your goal is to be able to spike powerful waves of stress followed by equally powerful troughs of recovery. Work hard is an essential toughness training principle. Recover equally hard. His formula is stress recovery. He puts it this way: growth is stimulated by precisely stress. Recovery is when you grow. It is an amazing principle for mind hackers to let their mind rest in order for them to grow. Ensuring you get the right quantity and quality of sleep every night is what you need to exploit the fullest potential of your mind. How much sleep should I get? And how can I make sure I get a good night's sleep? The minimum number of hours of sleep required for different age groups was found by the National Sleep Foundation in its study about sleep time duration and recommendation. For healthy individuals with normal sleep, the appropriate sleep duration should be as follows. A. For newborn babies, between 14 and 17 hours. A. The infants are between 12 and 15 hours. LC. The toddlers are between 11 and 14 hours. D. The children are between 10 and 13 hours. E. There are school-aged children between 9 and 11 hours. Teenagers are between 8 and 10 hours. Gee. There are 7 to 9 hours for young adults and adults. Age. Older adults need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. There's a way to get quality sleep. The author of the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success suggests some great tips for getting a good night's sleep. If possible, eat a light meal in the evening before 7. Go for a walk after dinner. You must be in bed by 10 p.m. Download your thoughts from the day in a journal before you go to sleep. Sean Stevenson explained in his book that the best time to sleep is between 10 p.m. and 12 midnight. It is difficult to get into sleep mode after that time. The room you sleep in should be dark. If you could not keep your phone in your room, it would be best for you. You have to get out of your bed to check it if it's not. All notifications should be on silent mode, except for the phone ring, which you may keep on for emergency matters. The formula to a healthy body and a robust mind is to eat well, exercise regularly, and have enough sleep, and this will provide the strong foundation and infrastructure to create a robust mind, with vibrant body built on 3 strong pillars and fully equipped with effective mental strategies. No one can stop you from reaping the fullest potential of your mind.